Good morning, dealing with Huntsville Guns. This morning we are going to cover just kind of a general what's going on in the shop today. Purchased a few firearms from a customer. I had a customer drop off a small project that he needed some assistance with, working on some things that we've covered in last videos, and I just wanted to give you all an update. First out of the chute, we have an AK-47 bolt. This belongs to one of my customers who is big into the AK arena, and this has a small pin that goes through the bolt head, and he managed to break off the nose of a drill bit trying to drill that pin out, and so brought it to me. That high-speed steel drill bit that's broken in there is harder than anything he has the ability to drill through, so I have it chucked up in a collet block. It's the easiest way I've found to hold these. The 5C collet block, and I will put that in the milling machine and then take a 4-flute carbide end mill and slowly remove that high-speed steel drill bit that's broken, and then finish driving that pin out for him. Also doing some work on the Mauser shotgun project we covered a week ago probably. So I have all of the metal parts pulled out of the stock. I've got a little bit of the stock repair going on in the background. It's nice and cool here in the shop, so that epoxy is taking its time to set up. And while that is going, I have some of the larger metal components in some evapor rust, removing some of that surface buildup and kind of getting a feel for how bad the scale is. I've already started on the metalwork for refinishing. I did a live stream at the tail end of last week covering, as I was working on bits and pieces of this, we had a discussion about the project. I find it noteworthy that the proprietary bolt head that they use on the Mauser bolt for the shotgun conversions is not hard at all. It's actually very soft. A file bites right into it. And so I will ultimately end up putting some hardness back into that and then refinish all of the metal components. Assemble that when the stock is ready to repair. I don't think that this firearm is going to be put back into use, but more as a wall hanger or a display piece. Had another customer drop off some firearms. He is looking to trade out a few firearms in order to get into a new revolver. He's looking for a single action 357. So we've looked at Vaquero and some of the Pieta options to see what's available. But in order to free up some funds to make that purchase, he brought me some firearms. Condition on some of them is not the greatest, but there is some parts value on one of them and then some resale value on the others. And so I made him a cash offer and ended up buying them from him. Again, we cover values on this channel more for the educational aspect of it. I know there are plenty of you who are interested in gunsmithing and curious to know what it's like to be in the business. And so I'm not a large firearms retailer. I don't have a showroom, and I don't have customers who walk in off of the street looking to purchase new firearms. So the majority of what I deal in is used firearms and then repair parts guns. So I purchased this Marlin model 1894. This is in 44 rim mag. It's probably a late 70s production gun, and it's definitely used. The firearm has been, parts of it have been refinished, so the wood appears to have been refinished at some point, and it is missing some of its original bluing. Some of the screw heads are damaged from disassembly, and there's some pitting on the metalwork, but it is also missing some parts. So the barrel band here at the fore end, the front handguard retaining band, is missing its screw, and the hole where the threaded portion of the screw would hold it in place has been wallered out. Somebody took a drill bit to it at some point. Front sight's got some damage on it, but the biggest reason I purchased this for parts was this gun is missing its ejector. It goes in that little recess on the back side of the receiver back here. There are several versions of these guns. These guns were made for a long period of time. And so there are several parts iterations. As they discovered that one part didn't work, they modified it and made a new version. And so not all of them are reverse compatible. The ejector falls into that category. So the ejector on this gun is a type that is not commercially available. Obviously, Marlin is not owned by Marlin anymore. And all of the parts surpluses that existed no longer exist. So I'm either going to have to make a replacement part. It's a bit of spring steel and a bit of flat stock, basically, to reproduce that. I purchased this knowing that conditionally it is a shooter grade gun, so you can see there's lots of metal corrosion. It was put in a rifle scabbard or a gun sock or what have you and not taken care of very well. And so I bought it for parts. I had that conversation with the customer and I told him, I said, look, there are collectors of these firearms and this is probably not something that would be collectible. So it's either going to get put back into use and shot, or I'm going to disassemble it and sell the parts to recoup my cost. In that lot, I also bought a Remington 870. This is just our 870 Express. Nothing fancy, 2 3/4 and a 3-inch chambered gun. It is a slightly newer version. It does have a removable choke setup, but it did not come with any additional chokes, just what's in the gun. It's a laminate version, nothing fancy. Condition on it is pretty good, probably 80-85%. And so I bought it knowing that it would be relatively easy to sell. It's a pretty common gun, lots of desirability. And then I also bought a Smith & Wesson M&P. This is an earlier gun in the Smith & Wesson AR arena. There is no dust cover or forward assist on this particular model. It does have plastic handguards that do not have a heat shield. It's a 1-in-9 twist 5.56 gun, very basic run-of-the-mill AR-15, and I purchased it knowing that it would be on the cheaper end of the AR spectrum. So all said and done, I paid $550 for these 3 firearms combined, knowing that I can get $200 all day for the 870 and another $250 to $300 out of the AR-15, and then that leaves the $1894 for me to make my profit in. That's where my expected profits come from. Like I said, the gun in collector condition, they can get very expensive, over $1,000. But in its current condition, it is barely more than a parts firearm. It is functional. It just will not run well without that ejector in there. And so I will either send it down the road to another gunsmith who is needing it for parts or is interested in putting it back together, or I'll, depending on my workload, take a little time to make some parts for it and make it complete and functional, or I'll part it out, just whichever it becomes the easiest. Again, just to caveat, I don't sell firearms here on YouTube. That's not what this platform is for. Simply just discussing what my experience is as a professional gunsmith, being licensed and in the business, and my experience. We're picking up some traction. You guys are doing an awesome job in watch hours. My videos seem to be picking up some steam. Consider sharing the channel. This is a subject that I think gunsmithing as a whole, but the business side of gunsmithing is a little underrepresented on the YouTube platform. And so if you have friends or family who are interested in the same things, consider sharing the videos. I've got some new content coming out. We're going to do a little more gunsmithing specific actual labor, but also some more business sided. I've got a friend of mine who has been in business for a long time, different field, but I am working on some like a Q&A type video with him about his experience in business that can be correlated to what it is that I do. So thanks for hanging out. Have a great morning.